Hi everyone, how's it going? Woohoo! I'm so excited to hear that there are people from all around the world here today. My name is Ooshma Garg, and I'm the founder and CEO of Gooble. We're the inventors of the 10-minute one-pan dinner kit. Today, I'm going to share with you the ingredients for a breakout company. And in order to do that, I have to tell you about our journey. This is not my journey, it's Airbnb's journey. It's an inspirational company to me, and I wanted to start here because I wanted to demystify something. I like their company not for the obvious reasons. Right now, it looks like Airbnb has this beautiful up and to the right startup curve. But in actuality, from 2007 to 2010, it was a very bumpy and up and down road. It looked a little bit like this. This is Gooble's curve for the last 5 years. You might be wondering, what happened right there? What started working? But in order to figure that out, you have to know what happens in the beginning, in the middle, and all along the way. These are actually the words of something called the startup curve that Paul Graham coined. He's one of the founders of Y Combinator, and many startups, Airbnb and Gooble included, mimic this curve. You have this amazingly exciting launch, and you come out in the press. Then there's this long slog and trough of sorrow. Just because you launch doesn't mean that the customers will come. Then you'll start iterating your product, seeing some wiggles of false hope. And if you have the stamina and last long enough, you'll get to the promised land. Today, I want to tell you about our journey to the promised land and the ingredients for success that I learned along the way. So let me tell you our story. I started Gooble when I had another startup company. I was in college, and I built a company and almost taped it and bootstrapped it together for 3 years. I was helping students at our university find jobs, and other universities caught on, and we were building a students' professional network. This was my first company. I was working 18 hours a day, stressed about every little thing, and I was surviving off of Starbucks and takeout. I ate alone in my car, alone in my apartment. And as you know, eating takeout is extremely unhealthy. And I was beginning to get very unhappy. This is even more personal to me because I grew up with this deep tradition of home cooking. I would come home every day from school, and my dad would be singing and cooking in the kitchen, this beautiful and colorful North Indian nutritious meal for our family. That's the way that he expressed love to us. So as you can imagine, going to school and starting another company and eating takeout was heartbreaking. And in the way that I learned how to cook, it would take me 2 hours or even an overnight soak or marination to make the kind of home cooking and Indian food that I knew growing up. I didn't know it at the time, but this is where the mission of Gooble came from. Having a fundamental and deeply felt mission in your heart is the first ingredient to startup success. This mission has carried me through many ups and downs, and to me, food is how I received love, and experiencing love is something that I think is fundamental to every single person in this world. So having this mission made Gooble a fundamentally different and long-term and breakout company as opposed to my previous company and product. I was sharing this with a friend yesterday, and they asked me, well, how do I come up with a mission? You don't just come up with it overnight. So I wanted to share my thoughts with you. If you don't have a mission, or if you do, from my experience, it should fall into one of two buckets to make a long-term success. The first is that it should either make people happy and emotionally and positively affect them, or it should make life easier and allow them to have more time for doing what they want. So as a company, typically you're either focusing on function or on emotion. Something like Uber might be focusing on function. It's helping you get from place to place as fast as possible. Something like Reddit, that you heard with Alexis earlier today, or even with Gooble, focuses on emotion and the experience and gives you something happy to do or to look at. A lot of great companies ultimately end up having a bit of both, and it's a functional company that actually makes you happy. But typically you start in one bucket. There are other folks in the world that have a different mission, and they have a curiosity, and they're the folks that you might find in R&D labs or at universities finding immunotherapies to treat depression or to treat cancer. Those are the people that lie underneath all the innovation that then becomes companies, and their mission and their calling is to learn more about the universe. You might have some of that in your company too, and you should continue to want to learn. But you should look at the top two categories and see what matters to you in those categories. Let's see. One example for enterprise companies that I came up with is you can't just start out building a database company or building a voice recognition company. The people who make those companies really successful have a deeper personal mission that then becomes their company mission. So in this case, it's to unlock the power of technology and to make bits and bytes move as fast as possible and for you to access information instantly. That mission is not only going to build the best voice recognition artificial intelligence, but it's also going to lead to the next product and the next product that makes your company a decades-long name in the world and not just a one-product wonder. In our case, the mission was to create love through food. That's what I felt personally. It was something deeper and more fundamental to me, and I actually ended up selling my other company prematurely so that I could work on this mission that I knew would be something that I'd want to work on for the rest of my life. I turned it into our company mission, and the important key here is that I didn't know what product Gooble would be. A lot of people tell you to pitch an idea or a product, but that's not a company. A company is a mission and not a product. And as you'll find, with Gooble, we found our breakout moment with a particular product that evolved over many, many years and continues to evolve. So I took this mission and I started meeting with personal chefs in my area. I was in California. Remember, I was eating takeout. I was being really unhealthy. And I posted a Craigslist ad, and I said, who would make me dinner for $8 a plate? We got 70 responses overnight, and it was all people who had the same mission. They were putting their love and their culture and their tradition on a plate, and they wanted other people to experience that, and they wanted to make a living off of that. So I was all of a sudden building a community and finding supply and demand that was all centered around the same mission. I was our first delivery driver. I had a calendar and a cell phone, and I was taking orders from my friends, and I was making the menus on a paper calendar and starting our business that way. That was our MVP, or minimum viable product. We didn't go software first. We didn't put all this investment into the company or into the mission before figuring out if this company and mission had legs, and if this version of the product and this marketplace between chefs and people was even a good product to build. So off of paper, pen, a cell phone, and a car, and PayPal for payments, I started this business. With just that for 2 months, we were able to raise our seed round, even without a website. We raised $1.2 million from brilliant Silicon Valley angels and veterans. We were at the very beginning of the company. Everything looked amazing. We got all this money, we got a great office, we were gonna build this great website. I was completely ecstatic and felt on top of the world, and little did I know, I was standing on the cliff of a multi-year slog where no one would care about me, our investors would ask for their money back, and we wouldn't see any signs of real success. The first version of our product was a marketplace. This is what it looked like. We built this for a year, and we fought tooth and nail for every customer. Again, just because you launch doesn't mean the customers will come. I went out to coffee shops and to moms groups myself every day and put coupons on all those tables and built an organic community and customer base locally with my hands. There was no quick trick, and TechCrunch didn't give us users for, the 20 to 40% a month that was required to show product market fit. Even when doing that, scaling this marketplace actually didn't work out. Our chefs started with 20 meals, and then when I gave them 200 meals to make, they weren't able to do it. Everything was late, the quality was suffering, the consistency was suffering, and I was asking these home chefs and these mom and pop shops to become full-on catering businesses. So what they wanted as a side business, they had to turn into a real business. And not only that, but safety in food is paramount, almost above every other industry. You're ingesting our product. So at that point, having this, boundless marketplace just wouldn't work. We would have to curate, we'd have to centralize, and we'd have to guarantee the quality of the food. This brings me to the second ingredient of a breakout company's success, which is to experiment. We iterate and experiment constantly. Being data-driven is one of our core company values. It should be for every company, but it'll show in how adaptable you are. Don't hold any beliefs as dogmatic, and hold all your beliefs as adaptable, because the world is changing and other people are innovating around you. So every single thing in our company is licensed to change, except our bedrock mission. And that is your North Star. So it's immensely important to have that North Star, but along the way to achieve that and to adapt with society, to constantly experiment. So with that, we made product 2. In 2012, before any of the other on-demand companies started, we actually built our own version called Gooble Instant. The reason you've never heard of it is because it was a complete flop. Our demographic were these really busy families in the suburbs. We weren't working in metropolitan areas and delivering to singles at their tech company. We were delivering to families and their kids on top of some hill. Having an on-demand company in the suburbs is a death sentence. We would have this food in the car, and you would order it, and we could never guarantee that it got to you in 5 to 10 minutes. The food would be wilting along the way, and it would take 30 minutes to get from one house to the other in the suburbs in rush hour. That version of our product completely failed, and we remained in the trough of sorrow. At this point, we've reached my third and favorite ingredient of success, and that is grit. Someone on our team last week was describing me to a new hire, and they said, Ooshma has this velvet exterior and this diamond core. And I really liked that, because over so many years, you start to strengthen your core. You'll question it when different investors question you, when your parents think your idea isn't working, when your friends are more successful, when competitors are more successful. But the only thing that'll keep you going is having that conviction in your core that your mission is still alive and there's something yet to be achieved. That kind of grit that I found when I was alone in our office or alone in a hotel room is the difference between quitting and being nothing, and currently being able to work on what I believe in every single day with the support now of hundreds of people. With that grit, we developed our third product. It was the best yet. I took our core competency in software. We were a marketplace, and we didn't have any kitchens, but we had an engineering team, and I was an engineer by training, so we decided to figure out how can we push technology forward to the fullest extent in the food space. And we actually worked for 1.5 years on Pandora-like algorithms to guess your taste and to feed you exactly what you should and want to eat every single day. With that product, we made menus like this for every single person on the days of the week that they wanted to eat our food based upon their tastes and their reviews from the previous week or so. And we started seeing these wiggles of false hope. I thought it was wiggles of hope at the time. And our revenue 5x'd from the flat area to this still flat, but slightly centimeter higher area. That kept us going, and we had made a huge move in technology. And I tried to raise money with that, because by this time, I told you about that seed round, it had been a few years. We had raised only like $1.5 million, and I stretched that out to last almost 3 years. That's double the time that any startup expects to stretch that money. It's really important to think that any money that you raise is the last money you're gonna get, and the difference between you being alive and dead is your willpower and your bank account. So you have to take care of both. I tried to raise money with this idea that was working. The idea was working, but the bank account wasn't. They're completely not correlated. But it was November and December, and with Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday, all of our numbers were down and to the right, just because of the seasonality. At the same time, the food space by that many years was starting to get really crowded, and a lot of investors had already made their bets. This was the biggest moment of grit and mission that I had ever had to exercise in the entire history of the company. At this point, it was a decision of taking any money or death. And I decided to join an incubator. Y Combinator only gave us about $100,000. We were talking about raising millions of dollars. But I took that $100,000 check and a humble move of going all the way back to the beginning of where most startups just begin to save our company. And it was the best move I could have ever done. There are moments like this where pride doesn't matter. You're the one in your body and making your company every day, and you have to do what it takes to survive if you really care about your mission and you really care about making a long-term change, no matter what the optics look like. With that money, I was able to hire the two most phenomenal people that helped me make our version 4 Breakout product today. To my right, you can see Chris Woodford. He's actually our head of engineering, and he comes from Toronto. A lot of my best friends are Canadian, and same with our team. He's in California right now, making sure our website is still alive while I'm talking to you. And to my left is our executive chef, Thomas Ricci. He's a man full of passion, and for 25 years, always cooked with his heart. And after trying out 5 other executive chefs, I found the right one in him, and we were able to make our 10-minute dinner kits Breakout product. This is how the product initially looked. Again, we started as an MVP. I just used unnamed bags. We got some containers from a Restaurant Depot store. And we were a marketplace before, so we were delivering fully made meals in boxes. So we decided to give half the people a fully made chicken marsala, and the other half of people a deconstructed chicken marsala that they would have to cook on their own. All of this came from the insights of going to customers' houses and finding out that even though our food was made with so much heart from these local chefs, when a customer rewarmed it at their house, they would put it in the microwave and then serve it to their kids, and they would cringe while they were doing that. Microwaving food is no fun, no matter how organic or genuine it is. Hiring Thomas as our chef allowed me to have a kitchen and a whole new playground for creativity. So depending upon the industry you're in, you don't just innovate in software, you have to innovate in that industry. And for so many years, we hadn't innovated in food. We were relying on the existing food supply and just being the broker. With Thomas and in the kitchen, we developed that concept of 10-minute dinner kits. And everything changed. Our social media erupted, and we saw 5 times the growth and the enthusiasm than we had ever seen before. We had hit the promised land. After 1 year of growth, we were able to raise Series A last October from Trinity Ventures and Andreessen Horowitz, 2 of my favorite firms in Silicon Valley. Now, we're almost 100 people strong in 3 different locations, and we're delivering to a reach of 32 million people across 8 states on the West Coast. In only a year and a half of having this product, we've grown 10 times faster than any other product that Gooble ever had. here's the flow of experimentation. First, we were a marketplace. Then we had an on-demand version of Gooble Instant. Then we had a personalized Pandora-like dinner service. And finally, we found our 10-minute dinner kits, which exhibited all the signs of product market fit and grew itself and turned our mission into a daily product. What I want you to remember from all of this is to be a gem. It's about that diamond core. Only with great time and great pressure comes the diamond. Being a gem is a great way to remember the 3 ingredients for startup success: grit, experimentation, and mission. Thank you.